Mistakes, how long to stay on ZEPBOUND 5 milligrams, and 5 tips to help you maximize your ZEPBOUND weight loss. Hi friends, I'm Elizabeth, Countess of Shopping. I have gratefully been on Mounjaro, and then because of the Mounjaro shortage, ZEPBOUND, and now because of the ZEPBOUND shortage, a ZEPBOUND compound called tirzepatide. The last 18 full months, pushing past 90-pound weight loss. It has been life-changing for me taking ZEPBOUND, and I'm really excited to share with you today some things that I'm currently on ZEPBOUND 15 milligrams, which is the highest possible dose. And we're going to talk today specifically about ZEPBOUND 5 milligrams. Why? Because I got asked a ton about this in my free encouragement group, which I will link down below. If you are not in my free encouragement group, take advantage of all of my free resources for you. All you have to do here on YouTube is click the ... more button, and it will show you all of my free stuff. I've got a ton of links down in that description, but you're gonna have to click that more button, usually twice, since YouTube has changed around some things. So let's go ahead and dive into tip number one. Is mistake number one that I did. This is mistake number one that I made that I want to hopefully share my experience, strength, and hope. As always, talk to your own healthcare provider. I am not one, and I don't pretend to play one on the internet. Simply what has worked really, really well for me to maximize, for me, this life-changing, air quote, miracle tool. I'm going to call it a tool of what it's been, because I've had to do the work. I've had to do the work, but it's been a tool to help me do the work. Mistake number one was side effects. Now, we see in the media tons of side effects of horrible, horrible things. And there are some horrible side effects: pancreatitis, appendicitis. But those happen to less than 1% of the population. But if you are having side effects, and the most common ones are gastrointestinal, like diarrhea, nausea, vomiting, constipation. I hear constipation so much in my free group, and we're going to talk about solutions for that here coming up in tip number 3. And make sure you stay till tip number 5. I have got the best. Make sure you stay till that one. Stay till the end. So with the side effects on those, if you were having really, really bad constipation, do you think, just common sense wise, it makes sense to have more of this medication in your body if you're having really severe constipation as a result of taking GLP-1? Or the inverse, you're having massively blowout diarrhea. Does that make sense for you to go from 2.5 milligrams, basically doubling the dose, to 5 milligrams? Does that make sense? To me, that does not. When I started ZEPBOUND 5 milligrams, 2.5 milligrams, I did not have any side effects at that point. Basically my side effects had subsided. And one of the hacks that I want to encourage you is discerning to titrate up, or to how long to stay on a dose of ZEPBOUND. It goes from 2.5 milligrams all the way up to 15 milligrams. How long to stay on those is a conversation, in my humble opinion, you absolutely have to have with your healthcare provider. If you don't have a healthcare provider, I work with a fabulous healthcare provider nationwide, US, that will link down in the description link below. They're wonderful. And they prescribe both compounds and ZEPBOUND. So and Wegovy and other GLP-1 for chronic obesity management. So mistake number one is not taking into account of where am I in the spectrum, like my barometer needle of side effects. If I'm having really gnarly side effects around week 3, because for me, I make that decision with my healthcare provider at the 2.5 week mark-ish, 3 week mark, I'm doing an internal body check. I'm like, how does my body feel? How am I sleeping? Am I having the weight loss that I'm looking to have in a realistic fashion, 1 to 2 pounds per week? Not these crazy, like, I lost 50 pounds in 1 week, like in a very realistic point. Am I having those side effects? Are they manageable? Manageable to basically get double the dose from 2.5 milligrams to 5 milligrams. Does that make sense? And now, again, I'm not a healthcare provider. I trust my healthcare provider to look out for my best interest, to be the most knowledgeable for chronic GLP-1 medications, for chronic obesity management. So I'm going to obviously trust their decision too, but walking into my appointment with them, and I use video chat, which is amazing. I love telehealth. I walk into that appointment knowing my side effects. Now, if you haven't used my free side effect tracker, that is also down in the description link below. I have a whole printable for you that I've created for myself, and you can just have that as my gift to you, as being part of the Countess of Shopping community. Is that mistake number one is having these side effects. and people jumping way higher, and that's gonna aggravate even more from what I have seen. And also, we talked about this heavily when I was on the Oprah show back in March for the Shame, Blame, Weight Loss Revolution. It was one of the big things that was on the show, and you can see that on Hulu, by the way. Make sure you check out the after show. That's where I'm heavily featured. I'm featured in the show, but the after show on that one. Talking about people making the mistake of going way too fast. Turtles win, in my opinion. Slow and steady. This is, for me, a lifetime drug. I'm not looking to get fit to go over to the Caribbean. I'm looking to not die and change my life, basically. And so that's my encouragement, is low and slow wins. And so being methodical about, okay, should I just stay on for another month of 2.5 milligrams? Should I go for month 2? For me, and that's number 2 is, and we're going to talk more about this later, but I regret deeply, and one of my biggest mistakes was titrating up too quickly, which is why I do these videos, to hopefully encourage others. That did not work well for me. That did not fare very well for me. Tip number 2, mistake number 2, is not looking at the FDA shortage availability list. I just checked before today as I'm filming this video that ZEPBOUND 5 milligrams is fully available. But we do know, and I've talked about this now in my free group in the last 300 plus YouTube videos I've done on GLP-1 medication, that people, just because it's not on the FDA shortage list for a dose, does not mean that it doesn't exist. So for 5 milligrams, I will link that also in the description link below. You can check in real time on that FDA website to see, is ZEPBOUND available? I do not use those ZEPBOUND trackers, by the way, just FYI, because I don't want my data out there. That, for me, I don't rock with those. I just call my own pharmacy. But for the FDA shortage list right now, I'm on the highest possible dose of ZEPBOUND 15 milligrams, and that is on the FDA shortage list. Currently, ZEPBOUND 5 milligrams is not, but that may not mean that you may not have trouble getting it from your pharmacy too. So that can, strategy-wise, if we're looking at a chessboard, play into your puzzle pieces of getting your medication. Can you actually get it? Well, for ZEPBOUND 5 milligrams, as of right now, it's looking good. Check, check, check. Eli Lilly's no dummy. They're keeping 2.5 and 5 milligrams in stock. It seems to be the higher doses that we're having much, much harder problems with. Tip and mistake number 3 for me is before titrating up, with chronic obesity management, I was well over 100 plus pounds overweight. I mean, let me go back over here to my before picture, plus 100 pounds overweight. And I didn't have a good grasp on nutrition at that point. It was after the pandemic. I had lost a ton of weight through keto and ballooned back up, and there's a lot of shame with that. And I was feeling so badly about myself that I basically stopped doing a lot of self-care. And one of those things was daily vitamins. I switched over. I had started taking GLP-1 medication, was taking a daily vitamin because I was eating such little portions that I was like, this makes no sense. Knowing the history of people who've been on bariatric surgery, that gleaning from that of where you can have a lot of vitamin deficiencies, I was like, I'm gonna get on a daily vitamin. I got on one, a pill format, and I realized that was not the best for me. And so I have ended up switching over to GEM. I am obsessed with GEM daily vitamins. I absolutely love their products for the GEM Bite. They're little week-long pouches, and they have on there your nutrients included in there. This was one of the biggest things, is 90% of Americans are nutrient deficient. And for GLP-1 medication, because I was eating such smaller portions, I knew that I was not having the best supplement. And if I'm gonna have small portions, for me, I'm gonna make sure those portions are the best I possibly can get, which is why I switched over to the GEM Bite. I'm even eating the rainbow, the color of the rainbow on there. The other thing that I wanted to do is I wanted to have something that tasted good. And so this actually, when GEM was creating them, they created them with a fantastic it was a pastry chef. They taste really, really delicious. Let me show you guys. This is me having one. I know you guys don't like hearing me eat, neither do I, but that's what they look like. They're so good. Let me take one out of the pouch so you can see. And we're gonna talk in here about the prebiotics and probiotics. This goes back over to, with prebiotics, it has in there, I'm gonna list some of the ingredients that you may not have thought of. Does that not look so delicious? It's so good. I look forward to taking my vitamins so much. I'm like, oh, I just had it today before I came on to film this video. Thank goodness. My mistake was I didn't have enough vitamins and nutrients with these either. Now it has in there for the prebiotics and probiotics. Many of you with constipation, ding, 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 with ZEPBOUND Constipation, their prebiotics is sourced from, and I just looked up how to pronounce this properly and now I'm forgetting how you say it. It's ACACIA root fiber, oats, and chicory root. The probiotics are microcapsulated bacteria strain for safe and optimal absorption. So I just looked this up as to how you say it. Hold on here, I'm gonna make it so I say it right. Acacia. Acacia. It has acacia. Yeah, this mom over here tries. She tries so hard. I wanted to make sure I got the proper ingredient for you. It's acacia root fiber. So it's got the prebiotics and probiotics, which for me, obviously, I'm like, yes, queen, we need to be having those too. And it has on there, and one of the big things that I also think is super important, and the mistake I was making is I had such low energy. Guess what happened when I switched over to Gem? My energy changed. I was so ZEPBOUND fatigue. And that's one of the side effects with this medication is being tired. But you know what helped? Switching to a proper vitamin that has over 20 vitamins and minerals in there. And that's one of the reasons why I love Gem. They've been very, very generous with the Countess of Shopping community to give us a discount. I will link the direct link down in the description link below, but go to dailygem.com/queen, use the discount code queen. And they have been so incredibly kind for us. So you can get 50% off your first month, and you can go to dailygem.com/queen and use my code at the checkout as well. It's amazing. Mistake number 4 is the food chatter component of it. For me, having chronic obesity management, and yes, that is a disease. It has been deemed a disease, even though people like to battle me on it here on YouTube. I'm like, it's a disease. With the disease of having that food chatter. And if you don't quite know what food chatter is, or food noise, and I've done a whole other, you can see my other video on it. But with the food chatter, for me, it basically came back. After about 2.5, 3 weeks of being on ZEPBOUND 2.5 milligrams, it started to come back. And I was like, where are these food? I thought this was gone for forever. And for me, unfortunately, it came back, which was one of my signs to titrate up. However, I want to encourage you, if you do have the ability to again, my biggest regret was titrating up too quickly. If I could go back, I probably would have worked a little bit more closely with a therapist. Now, full disclosure, I do. Of having an 18 months, there has been a dramatic change in my life, and I have no shame in saying that I've needed outside help to help me with that, and to help process these lifestyle changes, because it's a lot. I mean, my whole life has changed in a beautiful, amazing way. But with chronic obesity management, having on there that food chatter come back, that scared me so much that my gut instinct was like, titrate up. But I think if I had gone back and was just noticing and paying attention and communicating that with my healthcare provider to work with them too, with their medical perspective, that would have served me a little bit better. Mistake number 5 was, how is the appetite suppression? Now, I say that and I pause, because if I'm taking back then an honest appraisal and an honest inventory of how I was eating at the beginning of ZEPBOUND 2.5 milligrams, I was not eating the best possible way I could. Now, I talked earlier about how I have a free meal plan that's linked down below. Within that, it was dietitian created. I did not create that. A dietitian made it. I paid $500 for the licensing rights so I could give it to the Countess of Shopping community totally for free. It's on countessofshopping.com, and it's also down in the description. Just click that ... more button, and that'll get you to that. Do you guys hear Mr. Freddie? He's letting me know FedEx is here. Thanks, Mr. Freddie. He's going nuts. He's going bonkerdoodles. So with that, dietitian created one. My dietitian told me, and I did a whole episode, 2 of them. They're here in my 300 plus GLP-1 medication playlist, that GLP-1 patients, this is an overarch, so talk to your own healthcare provider, need 100 to 120 grams of protein per day. Honey, I clutched my pearls. I said, pardon? That seems like an excessive amount to me, but actually really it wasn't. When I started to do the data, I was like, she is really right. She is really right. From the standpoint of muscle mass loss, to help combat that, because that does happen not just with GLP-1 weight loss, but with any weight loss. And then also the appetite suppression. So my mistake number 5, I was not eating that 100 to 120 grams of protein. No wonder I didn't have as much appetite suppression. Yesterday, I've been switching up my proteins to try new things, and I had been trying some new fresh fish locally here that I wanted to test. I was so full. I had 6 ounces of fish, and I was like, oh my gosh, it was over 30 grams of protein. And I went back and had 2 more ounces of, I forget how much, it was equated to over, it was like whatever I had for lunch, I had some cottage cheese with a salad and some fish, and the total grams of was on there. It was like 40 to 45 grams of protein. I was so full, so full. And it wasn't even near shot day. It was day 4 for me, day 4. Now, day 1 and day 2, I can't hit that protein. The appetite suppression is so high for me in general, I cannot. And I have been on my dose for quite some time. It's been over 6 months on ZEPBOUND 15 milligrams. So something that I want to encourage you is the mistake I had made is, what if I had tried the 100 to 120 grams of protein back when I was on ZEPBOUND 2.5 milligrams? I don't know. Would that have prevented me from titrating up so quickly? Because I am at the maximum ceiling. There is nowhere else for me to go. The food chatter is back for me. It is much better though, and the appetite is much better. And I have to say this because I've talked so much the past month or so about how it's been very challenging for me on the ZEPBOUND 15 milligrams with the appetite suppression going away. Being super intentional with that 100 to 120 grams of protein has made such a big difference. And so maybe you can't do 120 grams of protein. For me, I had to add in a protein shake with it to hit my daily goals, which I had been somewhat resistant against. I'm not anymore. I'm like, bring it on. It's so good. I have some amazing recipes. If you guys are interested in those, let me know down below. And I talk about them in my free group too. But having that appetite suppression, super, super important for me. If I don't get that 100 to 120 grams of protein, I don't have appetite suppression. I'm eating all the things, all the snacks, and it's making it much harder for myself than it needs to be. I was not eating protein also, which was, again, changing my appetite suppression, big mistake, was because I wasn't finding proteins I liked. That would be my biggest encouragement for you. You know what I've done this summer? I love seafood. I've incorporated way more fish, scallops, mussels, oysters, shrimp. We have a ton of shrimp, a ton. I love seafood. It makes me so happy. Happy girl. Grilling. I'm very weird about raw meat. Many of you guys can relate about like raw chicken. I'm like, oh, it's just gross to me. So my husband, we have a grill. He's been grilling it for me. I'm like, thank you, sweetheart. My other friend was like, why don't you get pre-made chicken stuff? I'm like, why don't I? I was so worried about the preservatives and this, that, and the other. And it's like, okay, well, me being not losing this weight component, I'm going to have some of the pre-made chicken. And maybe in the future, I'll get over this raw meat weirdo thing that I have it with chicken. Because I've gotten over so many things. I've gotten over so many weird food things. Again, for me, one does not get 100+ pounds overweight without having an unhealthy relationship with food, which I've really, really had to work on, the mindset in addition to the physical with that too. And so these mistakes of learning these, I hope that that is helpful for you because of the appetite suppression and the food chatter component. And if you want more episodes just on those, tell me down below, because I've really been working on that hardcore the past 4 weeks because my food chatter is higher and the appetite suppression. I have to track, and I've gotten, I don't like tracking, but I've gotten very, with love, grace, kindness, and compassion with myself, tracking. I use MyFitnessPal because it's free. I also just text myself. I'll look up the macros on food and I'll just text myself and then keep a total of calories and protein. That may not be the best way, but that's working really well for me. And I haven't had an issue with that, but it's still giving me how many calories I'm burning a day with my Oura Ring. And my Oura Ring, because it's customized to me, I can see exactly how much of a calorie deficit I'm in each day. If you don't have an Oura Ring or you're interested in one, I will link that also on my Amazon shopping list down below too. So a ton of information. Hopefully this is helpful of how to stay on, how long to stay on ZEPBOUND 5 milligrams. And then increasing to ZEPBOUND 7.5 milligrams. And that for me has been the biggest mistake. I just kept going too fast. It was 1 month on ZEPBOUND 2.5 milligrams, 1 month on ZEPBOUND 5 milligrams, ZEPBOUND 7.5 milligrams. That might have been, I'm forgetting. I had done a whole episode on how long I was on each dose. It was way too quick, in my humble opinion, looking back. And there's more data now. I mean, this was 18 months ago. There's more data on it too. We have more information, which we're going to continue to get more information. And as we go through this process, more will be revealed. Now, I want to make sure you take advantage of all my free resources linked down below. I also want to make sure if you have not gotten in the free group that you go to that too to get free encouragement. There's thousands of people, but don't apply if you're not nice. Only nice, amazing people are admitted. If you are mean, do not even come in. I'm so compulsive about that group because it's my support group too. Our accountability question today, tell me in the comments, what are you doing today to move you closer to your goals? You can type it out to help reinforce those. For me, I went to Pilates. I am so sore right now. I'm gonna go have my electrolytes here in a minute and I'm very excited. Number 2, our emoji of the day is going to be a plate or a fork, like some sort of cutlery. That tells me that you made it this far in the video. If you made it this far in the video, I want to pray over you. And if you don't believe in prayer, uplift you in positive thought. But also it helps me to get to know you better. By seeing your name in the comments over and over and over, that is how so many people are truly my friends, real friends. Someone the other day in the comments was like, you're my bestie, but you don't know it. I'm like, I totally want to be your bestie and don't know it. Like, I care so much about our community. I am so grateful for you. So if you've made it this far in the video, thank you. From the bottom of my heart, big, big thank you to you, my friend. The Duke, the Count, and myself, we are so grateful for the Countess of Shopping community. I told you to stay till tip number 5, and it was talking, if you stayed this long, it was about the protein and making sure that you're testing different proteins that work for you. That's my biggest hack this week for you. I want to hear from you. We're going to follow this conversation over in the free group about protein sources and finding really good ones that make sense for you. The other big secret, if you made it this far, is that the Count is going to be taking over the countessofshopping.com website. It has my articles on there. There's 50 plus free articles, but he is going to be taking over part of that in the summer. We are so excited. So stay tuned to that. It's already a great website, but it's going to get, the Count is brilliant with website stuff. So I'm very excited. My hot honey, you'll never see him on camera, but he will be behind countessofshopping.com, which already has a ton of free stuff. He's just going to make it chef's kiss even better. Make sure you go to down below. You can click in the description link or directly to dailygem.com/queen. Use the code queen to get that 50% off of your first month to get eat your nutrients with the Gem Bite. I am obsessed with their stuff. It's made such a big difference on my energy and with constipation with the prebiotics and probiotics. Be kind to yourself, be kind to others. I'm Countess of Shopping. Count my blessings because life is delicious. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye, sweet friends. Bye, guys.